We are looking at your practice 7, the full practice for globalization, okay? And we are looking at question 6 of your SRQ. All right. If you haven't done so, please download the soft copy of your marked SRQ attempts so that you can see the feedback and also do correction, use it to improve. Okay, because at some parts of this form, in this form, I'll be asking you to type out some parts of the corrections. All right. Now, when I marked this, I was quite happy to see because a lot of you are a lot more specific in your response now. You give very good details, okay, and many of you have gone on to very good explanations. Okay, just to clarify in case you forget, L1 means that you're writing nonsense, you didn't answer the question at all. Okay, thankfully no one is in the category. L2 means you have described but you didn't explain. Okay, now some of you might say, "Sure, I explained already, why do you still give me L2?" Well, at O levels there must be sufficient details and including specific examples, name examples. Then your L2, then they can say that, okay, then your explanation will make sense, I will give you L3 from then on. Okay, so even if you written an explanation but the details are not clear, you only get the L2. Okay, now next one, L3. What does L3 means? L3 means that you have done L2 and you have explained. All right, to the question. L4 means that you have done L3 plus a good conclusion. Okay, and L3 must be on both two, L3 and then you give a good conclusion. Okay, sorry, I'm so sorry, question 6 has no L4. Okay, that's all. All right, now what you all need to work on, okay, I'm really happy to see improvement, but there's some parts you need to work on. Okay, now you all need to really analyze the question. Okay, the question asks you what can local businesses do to ensure that they can continue to survive in the face of an economic recession created by the pandemic. Okay, now you realize that it is created by the pandemic. Okay, so many of you have addressed the issue about how they survive, how they earn more profits and things like that. Okay, or go online. But many of you have, some of you, actually quite a few of you have not really dealt with the idea of the pandemic. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Example, some of you said things like, okay, they can go online, they can advertise their businesses on their products online. Okay, then you talk about how it then attracts more customers. Okay, some even say that close the physical shop and then move to online platforms like Shopee. Okay, Shopee, all right, to sell online. Okay, as an online platform. What does it does? Most of you have done very well in terms of that. Okay, but my question to you is this: this one can be done anytime, what? Right? Whether there's a recession or not, whether there's a pandemic or not, you can do it anytime. So what's so special about what is so special about this that makes it unique to the question about pandemic? Okay, so you need to add on ideas about economic recession, what happens, and how this will address those issues. Because if you don't do that, the explanation will not make sense. Okay, you tell me suddenly they earn more profits and can survive all the things caused by the pandemic. I'm like, how is it possible? Okay, so what do I mean by that? For example, what goes on in the pandemic? This is what some of you have said. Okay, so you all said that because in the pandemic, okay, in the pandemic, there's lockdowns, so people hardly shop in physical stores. Okay, so then there's a huge loss of businesses. Okay, as a result, so therefore, you need to go, since they are stuck at home, and some of you even go on to tell me that prefer to shop online. Okay, when you say such things, then it makes sense to me why this is a very good strategy to deal with the pandemic. Okay, and how it then actually increases profits. In explanation, you go on to say things like it increases profits and therefore harder to close down or harder to go bankrupt or whatever. This is what most of you have done. Okay, so when you say things like this, right, then it will be more convincing why it really helps them survive in a pandemic. Okay, another example that some of you have done, you all said that they should work with MNCs. All right, work with MNCs. Okay, we can work with MNC anytime. Why it was got to do with the pandemic? How does it address the issues of the pandemic? Okay, so none of you those who wrote these, right, actually able to articulate that. So which is why I couldn't give you an L3 for that part. Okay, so what exactly is the things that people can tap on in the pandemic, or what problems did the pandemic cause, okay, that needs them to go and tap on MNC or tap on government? Okay, so maybe we can say things like the pandemic, what does it do? The pandemic actually, countries close borders, okay, or there's lockdown and close overseas factories for weeks or months. Okay, so you can give example about how in certain parts of China it happened, right? Sudden lockdown. Okay, so what is this corporation with MNCs doing? It's actually to source for cheaper materials elsewhere. Okay, so that all this production can continue. All right, so the strategy should be about tapping on MNCs or the government to find new places, okay, or new places, or new suppliers, so that products can be imported for sale or things like that. Okay, so why do I need to do this, especially in pandemic, and it helps me increase profits, whatever? Because the pandemic do this. Okay, so the learning point is that number one, you need to analyze your question. Okay, although I do see that it has improved in terms of details and explanation, you need to be careful of the nuances. Like for example, for this case, it's about created by pandemic. So you need to write things that you know what's so special about pandemic that makes your strategy such a big deal that actually help them survive. Okay, those who are able to do that are those who have shown that they understood the question completely and produce more convincing suggestions as a result. Okay, so now that you're aware, can you just quickly answer some of these following questions, and it will help you recap what some of the things that you need to watch out for.